Good afternoon and welcome to You Create Art at Home. My name is Bess and I'm here with another and the last one for the week, daily dose of me time. This is your chance to take a little creative break, exercise the right hand side of your brain and let me inspire you, give you some technical tips and help you do something just a little bit creative in the middle of the day. Now you will notice that I am inside, even though this week is all about out and about time. Well, we're inside because today's session is what's outside your window. Now I know a lot of you are often chained to your desk, whether you work at home, whether you're in a salon, a home office, you're on the road in your car, wherever you may be, sometimes you physically just can't get away from the desk. And so we still want to have the chance to take a little break and have a little bit of creative time. So that's what today is. Look, let me flip you around. Here's my desk. You'll have seen it before because that's where I do a lot of my drawings from. And there's my window. So I've got a home office. You can see my bed with all my clothes ready to go. And this is the view from my office. I'm super lucky. I live in a townhouse. And the view is up over Mount Kusa. Absolutely lovely. And the reason why I love this view is because there's a real play between the hard structure, which you can see, the sharp corners of the townhouse development, and the undulation of the hills. Now today specifically, it looks fantastic because the colours are really vibrant. There's lots of blue and lots of green, and the sun is really coming in and out over the hill. Yep. So you can see, hi Mary, hi Quiche. I've got my little tripod set up because I don't actually have my desk right at the window. I'm going to sit on my little balcony and I'm drawing what's outside my window here. Now, you can copy me or you can have a look and you can just draw at the same time with what's outside your own window. This is the view that I've picked today. And I really like that sense of perspective with the townhouses running down through like this, the diagonal, and then the hills going over the top. So we're going to have a look at drawing that, and I want to show you something else. So as you know, I'm here on my trusty tripod. There's my view. That's what we're going to be drawing. And I'm going to pop my tripod down. Here's my little traveling case that you've seen all week out and about as we've been drawing outside and exploring the big bad world. And the extra things that I've got in my case today, which you might want to consider, we've talked about them before, is my watercolor pencils. But look at this, I haven't showed you this before. This is a awesome thing to have in a traveling kit. It is a brush that is inside here, the tube is filled with water. So when you're using watercolor pencils, you give it a squeeze. See if I can get it to work. And the water will come out the end. Can you see that? And so instead of having to have a water pot, you take this along with you with your colored pencils and you're all set to go. So that's what we're going to use today. These things you can get in those bargain shops for $2, Australian dollars. They're really, really super. To have in a dry kit, which will give you a bit of paint or a bit of difference. Okay, so I'm going to put those there because we're going to start off by drawing with pencil first. So let me pop you around. It has just rained here in Brisbane, so the top of my table here is soaking wet. So could you see the big puddle there? But that's okay, that doesn't worry me. So hopefully you can see my paper there nicely set up. That looks like a good view for me. Let me just tighten the camera and let's get to see what we can see. Okay, if you saw yesterday we went out and about in Brisbane. We were down on the Brisbane River and I had a lovely time. Now these sketches are supposed to be 10 or 15 minutes long. Okay, this isn't about an art class. This is not about you learn a few tips, but you're never going to create a perfect piece of art during these creator breaks. These aren't, the whole point of these is just about really taking a break in the day and just having a little bit of creativity. So I'm looking at my view. Let me flip it up so you can see it. Again, that's my view. I'm going to flip you down and you're going to watch me draw it. Okay, so the key thing that I've got here is the top of my townhouse block. And in order to get perspective, you need to have what's called a vanishing point, which is going to be down here. Now, a vanishing point means that all the lines come one point. And you know what? We're not really going to get down and do a whole lesson on perspective, but we're just going to have a think about what that means. Okay, so I've done my first level of the house in front of me, and then I do verticals. The most important thing to think about whenever you're drawing any architecture is verticals are always vertical. Now that sounds crazy, doesn't it? But if you're doing hard lines that are vertical, they always remain completely vertical, okay? So we've got our verticals going down this way and the horizontal going this way. Now the horizontals will change. So that one is running downhill, and then the top of the roof is actually a little bit more horizontal, and that's going to give the impression that it's starting to vanish. And that will also be helped if I draw the next level of the house, and that goes up to, so bearing in mind our vanishing point is off here, off the edge of the page. So it goes right off like that. Now you get the sense of that's going in that direction, okay? Now I'm going to look at my buildings. Today I want to have a little study of the architecture. So this one up here, this has got a window here. Again, verticals are vertical, and in order to make it look like it's receding or going backwards, it's going to be smaller down that end and wider that end, and that way you get that sense of going backwards. So the back of the building is going to follow the same parallel line as that one. Then you get the end sense of that building. This line here is going to be parallel to this line, so it's going to go back. Then you get the end of that building, okay? So that's the end there. Now it has this little wraparound area, so I'm going to do a down bit here. And this building has like almost like fake cladding, like a, almost like a, looks like a tile, I guess. So in order to do that, we want to follow those lines. And then we're going to put the verticals in. And the verticals will end up getting wider as they space out. That's a really long vertical in this design of this house. And these are really short ones. So these are the tiles that are on the end of the house, and just shows that the building is going back that way. All right, so we're on to this bit here now. These are the gardens down here. We'll get to the gardens in a minute, but this is the underhang. Now they've got these funny, the one thing I don't like about these townhouses, and we're renting, so you know, you can't be too fussy, is that they have these really weird windows that have bars on them. And I have to say, when these were being built, I was like, holy dooly, what is that? It is ugly as. I don't know if it's architectural for safety. I don't know what it's all about. They are super ugly. But anyway, they have these bars over the outside of the window, which make them pretty ugly. But now, and I thought I would hate it. I thought I would feel like I was in a prison, but actually now I live in here, it's fine. You don't even notice it. Our bedroom doesn't have it. It's only on the front sides, on these front sides of these bedrooms. So it's Friday, people, and Friday means the weekend's here. Oh, look how beautiful it is. The sun's just coming out and everything's glowing. Love it, love it, love it. Is the vanishing point like the horizon, Mary says? No, it's not, Mary. When you're doing perspective drawings, everything goes into the point that you can't see. So if I was drawing, this would have to be a much longer class in order to explain this. But if I was drawing a street, or if I was drawing, I don't know, a row of houses, a train track, the vanishing point is where it disappears at the horizon, but the horizon is the actual level itself. So the vanishing point is where it disappears to. It is on the horizon, but it isn't the horizon. Does that make sense? And it is complex a little bit, but once you understand it, once you understand that everything vertical has to be vertical, but all of the horizontals can be at a different angle. Once you get that, then, you know, you're away, you're sorted. So these are these funny little windows. And then again, we have this funny patterning of tiles. So I'm just going to put, and that line there flows into that, flows into that. And then we just have these tiles that go down. So I'm just going to mark in these tiles. And it's, when you're sketching, it is difficult to get proper vertical lines. I appreciate that. Obviously, when architects do it, they're going to be using, you know, rulers and set squares and all that sort of stuff. And we're not. As long as we got the essence of what we're trying to get, that's the most important. Right, separating this house and the next house, there's a real block of grey, like a down piece block of grey. So I'm just going to do, it's like a piece that protrudes on the house, and it actually wraps over the top of the roof. And the reason I want to put that in is it's going to give it a sense of dimension. So you can see it goes back up into the top of the roof. And actually on the roof, we've got some aerials. So let's add those little funny bits in, because these are the bits that sort of break up the architecture and give us a little bit of, you know, interest. There's some kind of skylight there in the roof. So let's add in the skylight detail. And then, as most Australian houses, we've got a kind of corrugated roof. So I'm just gonna, and this is not to scale, but I'm just kind of drawing in an example of what that corrugated edge is, and then flicking the corrugations right out through the back. Yeah? Awesome. Now essentially the next house here is a repeat. So we've got the 2 windows. The next house is actually smaller. It's a 3-bed house, and there's a little cutaway on this one, which is quite interesting. The roof goes back like that. There's a kind of like little cutaway area, which means that this piece here separating sticks out much bigger. And all of that is dark grey. And it goes right down into the garden. All of that is dark grey. And it's only got one window that goes right to the corner there. Again, I'm making sure my lines are parallel. Once I've done these guidelines, I need to make sure that all my window lines are on the same angle, okay? That's super important. Whenever you're doing architecture, you draw those structural lines first, and then you make sure everything else is in parallel. Okay, now I'm just doing those funny bars on the window. Again, these aren't exactly correct, but they're in the right position. That bit goes down there, and there's a fake roof there. And a gutter. So if you want to get down and do, you know, the pipes and things like that, you can do. Then we need to do this edging on the roof and flick it away. Now you might have something totally different through your window. What might you see through your window? I mean, it depends where you are. If you're in an office block in the city, whether you've got a home office, whether you are on the road, out on the road, and your office is your car. I used to work as a brand manager in the UK for a company that produced savoury pastry, and I used to drive literally from Cornwall, which is the very toe of England, and I used to drive from there up to Scotland and around and see all the different sales offices. And so I know what it's like to be on the road driving around, and your office is your car. All right, so I've done 2 of the houses. Now I just want to pop in, and I'm looking at how this works. So the horizontal comes out, and this is where the fences are for the garden, and I've got lovely trees here. So I really want to add these in, because they're going to break up the hard shape of my townhouse. At the side, they go right up, and in a minute we're going to add some colour, and that's going to break up those townhouses. I'm not going to finish that one. That's something I might come back to, but right now I'm not going to finish it. Let's go underneath and put an underneath bit there. It's just in shade because it's like an entertaining area underneath the house. So I'm just going to give the example of it and just put in the foliage from the garden. And now the most important bit for me of this is to really get that beautiful undulating hill. That is going to really be the juxtaposition. That's such a swanky word from English literature, but the juxtaposition means it is the complete opposite. So there's my Mount Kusa, and it's going over there and it goes back over there. So it is really the complete opposite. So you've got the undulation of that beautiful hill there. Between the hill and these houses, we've got some gorgeous big eucalypt trees, Australian eucalyptus. Super, super high, super, super tall. So I need to draw those in because when I colour them in a minute, they're going to be much brighter. Okay, they're going to be much brighter. I can also see some beautiful palm trees. We live in tropical Queensland and they are everywhere, and it's one of the things, if I had a bucket list of what I wanted and what I wanted, you know, in an area where I lived, that would be it. There's another really beautiful tree here. It's like, move that across. It's really tall and it's a pine tree. So the shapes that I'm drawing for this pine tree, I'm making sure that my shape is very different to this sort of leafy evergreen. It's much more like a Christmas tree, so I'm letting that come up and we'll colour that one in a minute. And then finally, it's ugly, but it's there. And the question is, do I want to put it in? And it is a flipping mobile phone tower. They are everywhere, aren't they? But you know what? This is urban sketching. So you could decide to leave it out if you want to. But I think penetrating, putting it in, it just illustrates what you see. This is modern life. This is where we are. This is what you see. Stick it in is my view. You don't have to if you don't want to. This would be the next little townhouse going off. You don't always have to draw everything either. Okay, so that's as much as I'm drawing. Now I'm going to start colouring in with my sketchings. All right, I've got 2 colour greens. Have I got 2 or 3? I've got 2. Okay, so my background in the distance here is always going to be dark, softest and lightest. So I'm going to do a fade of dark green. Okay, then I'm going to get a brown. And I'm going to put a brown over the top to give it more of a muted colour because it's so far in the distance, okay? That way, when I do the trees that are in front of that, it's going to punch up. The colour's going to punch forward. Just going to go back to my pencil at the moment, and I'm just going to add in the pocket. So this is a really low cloud here, and there is a pocket of bright blue that I just want to capture. So I'm just going to get that cloud that's in front, and it's lovely and billowy and white, but it's got a lot of grey in it just there, which looks like it's going to have a bit of a rain later. And then there's another beautiful pocket of blue there, which I want to capture. So there's these tiny little pockets of blue, and I just want to get these clouds in before they blow off. Awesome. Okay, let me get that blue in before I lose it. There's a pocket of blue. This here is a gorgeous pocket of blue. I love it. So this is a really super thing. Just having some of these watercolor pencils, one of those little water pens in your kit. If you are out and about, you could leave it in the pocket of your car, couldn't you? So that, you know, let's say you go away camping or you're down at the Gold Coast. Well, you won't be at the Gold Coast if you don't live in Australia or in Queensland, but you know what I mean. If you're out and about, and you're driving and you're at a beach, and you can always stop. If you've got a little mobile kit, a little sketchbook, you can always stop and have a good go. Vicky's in the car on the way to Dubbo watching you. Awesome. Oh my God, I love Dubbo. It's so beautiful. It's been a long time. We used to live in Sydney, Vicky, and it's a long time since I've been down there, and I'm much overdue a visit. So as soon as Queensland decide that it's safe to open the borders, God knows why it's taken so long, I want to head down to New South Wales and have a good old go. But love a bit of Dubbo. Went there on a book club weekend. It was fantastic. So these, for those of you that don't know Brisbane, these are the Mount Kusa Towers. And they're just pylons, but they're very, very, very famous in Australia, in Queensland, in Brisbane, because they are the view. If you go to the highest point in Brisbane, up on One Tree Hill, or on what it's actually called Mount Kusa, but it used to be called One Tree Hill in the turn of the century. This is the view. You get up here and you got the view for miles right across Brisbane. So it's really important. These are a really important landmark. So I'm just going with a bit of yellow there for that tree line. And I want to add in some brightness. Now, it's not as bright as this. But you know what? I'm making it as bright as this. It's my picture. I'm choosing. Choose me. So I'm making this beautiful and summery looking. All right. Then I'm going to add a touch of green. Now, can you see I'm not really colouring in very carefully? Why? Because they're watercolour pencils. And in a minute, I'm just going to use my watercolour pencil to blend it all, okay? I'm going to use that watercolour that I showed you. Right, at the front, let's get these trees in the front. Like that. Now, again, multiple colours. Actually, these trees, not knowing my Australian botanics, I'm afraid, I only know the Waratahs and the Banksias, you know, the posh ones. Well, not the posh ones, the famous ones. But anyway, these trees that they've planted in our house have this gorgeous, they change and have these like lovely tips of orange and red, which are stunning. I don't know what tree it is, but they're gorgeous. You guys will probably know. So I had a bit of an up and down week, didn't I, this week? And I'm sorry for, you know, sharing my woes with you, but I'm having a great day today. I've been in the studio. This morning I had my first session with a potential corporate client where I'm going to be doing these creative breaks for their corporate staff right across Australia. So I'm in trial phase at the moment, so I can't divulge who it is, but it was super exciting. They patched me in on Teams and I did a little creator break at 10 a.m. for their staff. It was in the middle of one of their meetings and it was brilliant. But if I get the contract, then I will be doing these for their entire staff and live sessions. They'll have sip and paints with me for team bonding, but they'll have little creative rec sessions just like I'm doing with you, where in their day they'll just be able to break out and have a little bit of mental health time, you know, and that's important. I'm just trying to lift that up so you get to see all of it. Right, so that was super exciting. I've also been reconfiguring my studio, ready to open the doors in the holidays, which means that all my tables have to be, you know, 1.5 meters apart from each other. So I've got to put little COVID signs everywhere and have a sanitized station. Well, it's the same for all of you, isn't it? I'm sure. So so that's been really exciting. I'm really happy to be back at work. And I've been really enjoying it. And I really appreciate all of your support this week when I had a bit of a technology malfunction. You know, it's just a learning curve. We're learning as quickly as we can. But sometimes it's not quick enough. I'm quite an impatient person. You might have noticed I'm a bit of an all or nothing kind of girl. Had you got that from me? And so because I'm a bit of an all or nothing kind of girl, I get frustrated. Okay, I just want to add a bit of colour into the townhouse. So I'm using purple. It's actually a deep grey, but I do want a bit of colour there. So I'm just using a bit of purple just to colour up where the grey area is. And I'm going to tell you, it's just started to spit with rain. So if I get little bits on my pad, you know why. And I'm just going to add a bit of shadow on the roof, just in that purple. And then we are going to get our watercolor paint, our watercolor thing that I showed you, and we're going to just do the finishing touches. And I'm just going to let that finish there. I don't want to finish that one. All right. So this is my beautiful tool that I showed you. You can get these in the $2 shop. You squeeze. Let me put you down. You squeeze and the water comes out, and then you just use it like a paintbrush. So let's start on the back first. on those hills. You can see I just did a few little squiggly lines just to create a bit of bush. So I don't want to over rub that because I don't want to rub them out. Then I'm going to do the blue in the sky. And then we're going to move down and I'm just going to dab and squeeze where my trees are. Dab and squeeze. And that's when, although the yellow seemed really bright, when it obviously merges with that green, it doesn't become so bright, does it? And then let's do the foreground. So these beautiful bushes that are in the gardens in the front of the townhouse. So I don't know what's in front of your window where you're working. I'd love to see. So if you are doing a drawing, or if you're stuck on the road, if you're just watching me, maybe you've got something in your glove compartment and a pen there somewhere, you can just have a quick go, just have a quick scribble and see what you can find outside your window. I'd love to see what your view is. And then we'll just try and make that purple just disappear almost. So instead of having the lines, it just becomes shadow. And let's get that right down there so it's a bit more in shadow on the end of the house. And there you have it. There is my little 10-minute sketch. The view from my work window. So that's the view. Here we go. I'll tip it up. There's the view outside my window. And let's see if we can look at it. That's what we're looking at. That's what we've drawn. I reckon that's okay for 10 minutes. What do you think? So I hope you have a fabulous weekend. Don't forget that I am doing my sip and paints again this weekend. We will be on Friday nights for the next 3 weeks, people, because I'm doing a trilogy. So people have really enjoyed the consecutive build of artwork. So we're doing a trilogy and we're going to Santorini in Greece. And I'm doing 3 beautiful Greek paintings, which I cannot wait for. I'm thinking that they might go nicely up here. That's what I'm thinking. I'll show you also at the end of the 3 days, if you want to keep them for an outdoor piece, how to seal them so that they become waterproof. Next week on Create a Break, we are going to do another 5-day challenge. I so enjoyed the Wizard of Oz, and so many people did, that I want to do something very similar for you, okay? So it's going to be the same thing. We will take the picture on a little journey and we will do bit by bit and see where we get to. It makes it super exciting. I know you enjoy it. You get super excited results, and it means that we can do a bit more of an in-depth picture than just these tiny sketches. Tiny sketches are great as well because it's just a release of energy. But it's really nice to sort of build it together and get some really great results. So I hope you have a fabulous weekend. As always, if you are catching this on the replay, hello, #replay, and let me know that you're watching on the replay. Thanks, Kim, you love the challenge, and Mary, perfect. That's what I reckon too. I'm not going to tell you what it is though. I've already got it set up for 5 days, and of course there's a little story to boot. Yeah, if you're watching on the replay, if you haven't finished this or had time, then you can catch it at You Create Art at Home under the videos tab. You'll find me there. Have a lovely weekend. Take care. For those of you painting tonight, I'll see you at 7 o'clock. Take care. Bye-bye.